So joining us now to break down all the latest COVID headlines is Dr. Leo Nissola. He is the Chief Scientific Officer at First Bio Research and an immunotherapy scientist. Thank you, Dr. Nissola, for joining us. So in Texas, that's good news for those who wanted to keep wearing their masks, but maybe we'll get even better news because we know that kids are being vaccinated at a pretty good pace, actually. And so do you think that there's a possibility that this conversation about mask mandates may sort of wrap up soon because enough kids in schools will have received the vaccine?
Yeah, I think it's complicated because everyone is tired of the pandemic, but unfortunately the pandemic is not done with us just yet. I think masks offer a layer of protection for kids and offer some sense of protection for the parents as well as they go to school. Recent research showed that kids that were in public schools while the mask mandates were in place were at least 7 times less likely to get infected with COVID than kids that were in private schools that were not requiring masks. So while we are still debating whether or not we will continue to use masks in the future for the unforeseeable months ahead, I still think that the idea here that we should be focusing on is making sure that kids are allowed to receive the vaccine before they catch the virus. And the best way to do that is masking. So it is important that parents send their kids to school with a mask, whether it's mandated or not.
So, Doctor, a federal appeals court temporarily blocked the president's vaccine rules for large companies, and there are 10 states that are suing the Biden administration to block vaccine regulation for healthcare workers. Are you worried that these legal challenges could have an impact on immunization rates?
I think the important discussion here, Vlad, and let's be clear, testing weekly is not a substitute for a life-saving vaccine. Vaccines offer protection. Vaccines help you build immunity, build antibodies. And even though we are seeing the need for additional shots, a vaccine should not be talked about or be discussed in the same sense that you discuss testing. I think testing is important, and I think employers should come up with their own policies as far as the frequency for those testings. But my problem with that specific policy is that it makes the sense of the vaccine and testing being interchangeable and a substitute, and I don't think that's the right way to do things. I think we need to get people immunized, and that should be the focus.
So Pfizer has asked the FDA for approval of its COVID booster shot for all adults. Right now it's just for older adults and vulnerable adults. I know you can't sort of look into the future, but I think for some people who are a little hesitant about getting a booster shot, they're kind of thinking, oh, now we need a third shot, and then what's it going to be, a fourth, fifth, sixth? Like how long is this going to go? Do you foresee these sort of booster shots being almost as common as the flu shot?
Yes, thank you so much for asking that question. I think this is probably one of the most important questions around booster. I think when we talk about booster shots, there are 2 things that worries me. Number one is the lack of access to the vaccine worldwide. The world is largely unvaccinated. And here we're talking about giving third, fourth shots to the American population. So there is the privilege of living in the country that is running so well like the United States, where you can have a booster shot, and hopefully we'll be able to give these shots to more people. At the same time, there's the ethical dilemma that 4 billion people worldwide are still have to receive at least 1 shot of this life-saving vaccine. Now, when you mention about the flu shot, what I think it's important is that every year that we go to get our annual flu shot, we don't count this as our 20th shot or 30th shot. And I think moving on from the panicking of needing a booster shot for a deadly virus that is out there to get us should be something that we left behind. We should leave behind the idea that wanting immunity is a worrisome problem, that requiring an extra booster shot is something that we should be concerned about. I am concerned about the way that we are communicating these issues. I think booster shots, yes, they're necessary. Perhaps they will be necessary once a year. The science is still developing. The important thing is mRNA vaccines allow us, the platform allow us to update this vaccine code and allow us to receive a more targeted vaccine for the current strain of the coronavirus that is more likely to be within the communities. So in that sense, sure, it is very likely that we will have a booster shot a year, a booster shot a couple of times a year. We still don't know those things for sure. What I hope that we do, though, is move on from the panicking of booster shots being something that we are worried about or concerned about, but rather focusing on vaccinating the unvaccinated.
And Doctor, you're based in California, where Governor Gavin Newsom has warned about the upcoming winter months. How is the state preparing for possible rising cases or even a new variant?
I think San Francisco, under Mayor London Breed's leadership, has done extremely well, but it's safe to assume that winter surges will likely occur. We are already seeing a spike in cases in the U.S. Across states, where before it was just in the southern states, and now we're seeing in the Great Plains as well. The importance here, though, is not only to ensure resources like Governor Newsom is doing, but also to reach out to the California unvaccinated population in a targeted vaccination campaign that allows for them to come on board and get at least one shot so they can be protected by this winter. I think roughly 38% of Californians are still unvaccinated. And very similar to Hawaii, we have very resistant to vaccine and skeptical individuals and groups and communities that are still needing to hear from us and local and health officials. I think we have not yet addressed that problem. So while we prepare for winter surges, my number one priority would definitely be to get at least one shot in those 38% of Californians that are still unvaccinated, rather than focusing the messaging on just boosting those who already had received 2 vaccines.
All right, Dr. Leo Nissola, as always, thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.